Brad, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your valuable time. It is an absolute pleasure to chat with you. I absolutely love your content on LinkedIn. You're really putting out some thought leadership ideas, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tisha. Thanks for having me. And I think we can agree that adding value and offering a valuable service to our audience is why we do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just love the reflection, by the way, the Dubai skyline in the background reflecting to the window. That's another added advantage, I guess, of having a nice office there. So for people who perhaps don't know you or don't follow you, I would love if you could just perhaps introduce yourself a little bit, or the type of content that you put out on LinkedIn, so people can gauge your service content.
Sure. So my name is Brad. I'm originally from Cape Town. I've been in Dubai for 3 years, been in the tech recruitment space for 7+ years. I specifically love startups. I love people and companies that produce products and services that serve the greater good of the community. My content is generally around funding, any developments in the region or globally. And on a Friday, I do a FinTech Fridays where I summarize the week's activities in the fintech ecosystem globally. Thank you.
Absolutely. I love it. And I really think that, tech and sort of the crypto or blockchain rather space is really one to watch, especially in Dubai. The UAE has got some significant advancements compared to the rest of the world. So I think it's a great space to be in. I would love to hear your insights just in terms of, the recruitment world. So what are you seeing out there, from the clients? What are your clients asking for within the tech space? What sort of skills or, what are you feeling?
I think for this year, and I'll focus just on the last 7 months, I've seen a lot of engineering hires in the Middle East. So I think the lifeblood of any company is your engineers, your software engineers, so back-end, front-end, mobile. A dotted line into DevOps. We've seen a lot of product owner roles as well, as people are building scalable products. And then as more and more fintech companies are coming into the region, we've seen quite a few companies inquire and hire for compliance, legal, and finance as well. Because compliance is a big part of the DIFC or ADGM ecosystem, Abu Dhabi Global Markets, Dubai International Financial Center, or in Abu Dhabi where they have Hub 71. A lot of these companies need heads of compliance to understand the regulations to set up here.
Yeah, I think, you've definitely hit a good point on that, because I think, with all of the restructuring of various organizations as well and new compliance standards, and I know that there's even some ISO standards that are coming or have just been released. So, I think it's a certain talent that people need to be aware of, especially if they're transitioning from different sectors in. How do you identify talent? So obviously with LinkedIn, it's very saturated. You've probably got hundreds, maybe even thousands of applicants for the one role. How you as a specific recruiter do you identify talent from applications?
I identify talent by headhunting. And it's quite beautiful that you have your baby crying in the background, because it's important that we connect with people on a human level. And that's how I find talent. I don't want to work with robots. I don't want people who are not sold into what we do as a community and an ecosystem. So LinkedIn is my first and foremost favorite tool. I have built quite a strong network in Dubai. So I'd often call up CTOs and say, hey, man, do you know anyone who's a senior engineer? Recommendations are the second option. And then I try to go to meetups. So DIFC has quite a few fintech hive meetups. Just rub shoulders with people there, and they might not be on the market now, but in the future they'd remember me and be like, hey, what's available? So those are kind of the 3 things that I use.
Yeah, great. I think as much as all of this AI automation, the digital world, it's still so important to be having that personal touch, because at the end of the day, humans sell or humans, relate to humans. I think,
absolutely.
It's a really good point. Is it frustrating for you, having volumes of applicants to filter through? Perhaps I'm sure that your inbox is filled with countless demands for support.
Yeah. To be honest, some days I just get frazzled by it. However, because I work for probably the largest recruitment and staffing solution provider in the region, I can often refer, let's say, someone from a very random account manager pings me on LinkedIn, I can refer his profile to someone in the business, and hopefully they can add value. And so that's the cool thing about working for the group I work for. Yeah, so I try to, as best as possible, respond and refer. It might not be for me, but I at least say to them, look, this is not what I work on, but speak to this person, they might be able to help. So,
yeah, awesome. That's really good. I think that, yeah, that's where you have the longevity of relationships, by being responsive and realizing, yeah, that people are accessible through you. I guess I would love your advice, and perhaps only just, a couple of more points, but what do you think is the skill set of the future? What do you see as the emerging skills within the tech space?
So there's a big drive towards a Web3 ecosystem on the internet. So I'd say that software engineers will then pick up skills in Web3, blockchain. These are the areas where technology is driving forward at a rapid pace. I think this week, the UAE government announced that they want to be the first ecosystem to go into the metaverse. So understanding the metaverse is also a very key factor. And then what I've also noticed is historical project managers should look at becoming product owners or managers, because people and companies are more focused on building products now. So if you can understand how to build a scalable product, coming from a project management background, that would really help you. And then the old school Scrum Masters are now becoming agile coaches. So they oversee the entire ecosystem. So just a bit of advice for the people in those spaces. If you can do an agile course, you'd be then pushing yourself into the agile coaching space, as well as moving from project to product. That would be good for you.
Fantastic. I think it's really important to upskill. I'm just going to make sure that my daughter's okay. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
This is the joys of work from home 24/7 with a little one.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the thing, I guess it's really important that, the responsibility of workplaces to be supporting the upskilling of people, because I really think there will be a shortage with this talent, because, metaverse is quite niche, but, in the future, many organizations will be wanting integrating or implementing some of these projects or products as well. And then, it's up to the individual at the minute to upskill themselves with the various courses, but to be able to then practice their learnings, means that a top-down approach, in my opinion, might work best. Absolutely. To be able to support that skill development.
Yeah, I do agree. And that's one of the questions I ask new companies that I partner with. So I do drive home on the growth and succession plan of employees. What sort of view they have on embracing new skills and technologies and ways of working. I mean, it's one thing to find a nice person a job with a nice salary, but you also have to ensure that they continue to stay at the cutting edge of their domain as well. So I do ask my clients about that, if they do offer upskilling and learning within the organization.
Yeah, fantastic. This is, I think this is something really important that, especially within the Middle East, that people or organizations need to take on board. And then I guess it also supports the retainment of talent, because if, some usually tech people are quite high performing, they like to be, up to date with the best practices. And then if their organization's not giving them that thrive or that development, then that's when your employees will start to look elsewhere. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. I mean, I want to just pause and say that I've seen a shift in the market from H1 to H2 this year. So H1 was lots of funding, lots of hiring. At the start of H2, we've seen quite a few big names locally and globally have to lay off staff due to maybe running out of funding or not showing enough ROI to the investors. So my advice to anyone who's on the market at the moment, partner with a recruiter who keeps a close eye on what's happening in the market. You need to understand companies' runway, what is their customer base, what is their funding, and people like myself, we really drill down on these kinds of things to make sure that your next move is one that's for a long period and you're not having to look for another job within 3 to 6 months. But to answer your question, yeah, companies, the onus is on companies and company owners to keep people interested, excited, and being a part of the brand. You cannot have an employee-owner relationship. You have to be all invested in the product and service.
Yeah, absolutely. Because these days, the work from home is generally widespread, or at least flexible working hours, hybrid. Salaries are generally, okay. It's not like it's massive differences anymore. Companies are, sort of hitting the bar. So it's not like massive differentiating factors these days. So you really have to, treat your employees, I guess, as your one unit, one team to have that satisfaction. So I guess maybe just my last question for you, and of course, please feel free to give any other advice for either recruiters or hiring managers, and then of course job seekers. But would you value experience or skills, especially within the tech space? The reason why I ask is a lot of people are now going to complete recent certifications. For example, their Azure, Microsoft Azure, all of these news tickets to try and get ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, I love this question, and it's one that I don't have, there's no right or wrong answer for, but my answer is this, especially in an ecosystem like the Middle East, where it's a product ecosystem. So yes, some job specs still say 5 years of experience, this, that, and the other. However, I found that if a person is capable of doing the task and doing it well, it doesn't matter the years of experience. The other nice thing that I've learned and love about this place is the computer science degree is not really the driving force in this region. Like, it's really about, can this guy write the code? Can he write it well? Can he push this product to production? Doesn't matter where he comes from, doesn't matter what his tertiary background is. And I resonate with that. So yeah, that's my answer. And there's no right or wrong answer. Sometimes you do need the experience to understand more like tricky problem solving. But in other instances, if you can write good code, doesn't matter if you've got 2 years or 5 years, if your code is clean and working, that's it.
Yeah, fantastic. And so in interviews, are you having to give practice assessments or practice tests?
Yeah, so we do really drill down on what candidates have coded. Our company does not have a testing system just yet, but how we alleviate that issue is we actually share their GitHub or their some of their code links on their CV, so that a company who's looking at the profile can actually go and see their code before interviewing. So there's a little bit of like work shown before they see the candidate.
And is that something that you would recommend? So, if people were applying to a position that you were advertising, that you would like to see their code or their open source projects that they have created on the web?
Absolutely. I think that's what differentiates you from everyone else. Because a CV is a CV, right? Things that will differentiate someone in tech and code areas is definitely an open source project that you are proud of, and something that you've written yourself. For someone who's in more of like a product role or a business analyst role, my suggestion is write 2 or 3 highlights where you have played 90% part in that project. It has to be your project. It mustn't be we did it as a team, because then it doesn't really show what you've done. But if you can highlight 2 or 3 like products or projects where you've championed it on your CV, that sets you apart from anyone else.
Perfect. I love it. I love these hard facts and figures for support. Okay, well, I think maybe that leads us into any final tips for either job seekers or even recruiters within the tech space, or just out there from your perspective.
Yeah, so for the job seekers, I would strongly advise against applying on LinkedIn jobs. The reason I say that is it's a funnel for thousands of applicants that just does not let you stand out. My advice or alternative is either align with the recruiter and share the link with them, as they might know someone at the company. Alternatively, click on the company's LinkedIn profile, look at who the hiring manager is, connect with the hiring manager, and start a very casual conversation around who you are. Let's meet for a coffee. I've seen this job. It may be right for me. I'd really like to learn more about you as a person, what your company is doing. let's do a Zoom or a coffee. That for me works, and it's a really personable or personal touch that the client would be like, wow, this guy's actually like reached out to me. Like, by all means, avoid applying on LinkedIn, because it's going to demoralize you when you get 6 rejects in one day. And to be honest, the person on the other side probably didn't even look at your CV.
Yeah, I think it's a system, and this is with absolute all due respect, but the system doesn't allow or accommodate for the sheer volume of applicants that it gets. So, even in Easy Apply, for example, you have to scroll down and literally list 20 or 25 candidates per one page, and then you have to scroll across to the 25 pages. It's a nightmare. So I really, second your opinion on that one. So absolutely love it. All right. Well, how can people reach to you? Where can they follow your amazing content?
So my LinkedIn is Brad Marsdorp, and Trisha will share it after this chat. And then I'm on Instagram, but that's like a totally different world. I share tech content on there, but you'll also see pictures of my daughter and my vast vinyl collection.
I love it. And on that note, I hear the word daughter, so I better go.
Okay. Thank you so much for the chat.
You are most welcome, Brad. Let's keep connected.